We have, I'm going to admit, I don't know when it's going to happen, but we have armed cops who are going to be patrolling in Upper Park. That's good and bad, but when we're talking about excluding anyone, for whatever reason, $1, 50 cents, $100, you know, we're trading park visitors for police officers. Again, that can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing, depending on where you're looking at it from. But I think the argument that Bidwell Park is a regional park, I think that's the wrong direction to go. We want people coming to Chico to visit our park. We don't want to send people away with a parking ticket because they didn't have a buck on them, or they came to the park, you know, they left their wallet at the hotel or their family's house, and they brought their mountain bike. We don't want to send people away with a bad taste. We want them to come here to visit our community, and we want them to enjoy our park and love it the way we do.
If you could wrap it up, please.
Yeah, I'm just about there. We heard a lot about trees being bumped with frisbees tonight, bums shooting up in the park, vines growing over downed oak trees. People are going to do drugs in the park. Vines are going to grow over downed trees that are going to fall in the park. That's going to happen. We heard about motocross tracks up in the disc golf course. We have rangers for that. We have roads. I would like to know how many days of the last 5 years that upper gate, the upper gate in Upper Park at Diversion Dam was open. That road is it's a goat track. But it's a track we all love. We like to bike up there and run up there, so I don't see what $1 per visitor is going to do to fix that, or even the necessity of it. And
I really need you to, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Lance.
Yeah, hi. So I think this gentleman pretty much summed up the general public's opinion is going to be, I think the bigger question is the parks need more care. Care takes money. Where do we find money? And myself, hey, if I got to pay more, you know, raise the sales tax or something, that's what we pay taxes for. So that's a whole big nother question that maybe, you know, this commission can't solve, but it's definitely barking up the wrong course, I think, to try to impose a fee like that, because like I said, we want to encourage people to use it. You know, if you have to do a crowd control like, say, Yosemite or something where, you know, that's for a reason to control for the health of the park. This seems to me mainly a way to raise money. Am I wrong? I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but I didn't hear anything about, you know, there's too many cars or something. It just seems like a way to get money, and that's needed, obviously, because the parks are woefully under taken care of. You know, all this down trees, et cetera, and I'm sure we're doing what we can, but I just don't think it's not going to go over with the public, and it's not going to make people trying to help look good in government. It's going to be like another, oh, there's those politicians again, taxing us, et cetera, et cetera. So I think we need to look in a different direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Barrett.
Good evening. As a former park commissioner, we discussed this back in the mid-90s. It was kind of interesting because it's an impact fee, and I have no problem at all paying an impact fee. The impact that cars have on the Upper Park Road, and actually from Wildwood Park all the way up to the golf course, there's a heavy impact. If you ever go up there, look at the speed bumps, look at the divots on the other side of the speed bumps from the cars hitting that thing. That road has to be replaced. That's an impact. So I would say keep things simple. Don't exclude anybody paying it. I think $1 is too little. I think $2 is too little. But I think $2 to $3 is right in the range for that. One of the comments we got from people is that, well, if you start doing that, we'll put more people in cars and we'll have more people up there. I said, yeah, it's called carpooling. And that's an encouragement to carpool. It's a great idea. The golf course, when it expanded its road, mitigation. One of the mitigations of the golf course was to encourage carpooling. The golf course has never encouraged carpooling. You put an impact fee or a parking fee on cars going to the golf course, they're going to start carpooling. They don't want to spend the extra $1 or $2. When I come down and park to go shopping or eat downtown, I pay 50 cents to $2 for the pleasure of eating downtown. People could pay 50 cents or $2 for the pleasure of having a place to park. In the city, it needs the impact because the road is impacted and the cars are impacting it. And we don't have the bucks to fix the road to make things work. And so this, I think it's a very good idea, but keep it simple. Simple is easy. You start making exceptions for a handicap or an older person, at what age, and what condition, or I'm a multi-park user, I'm up there every time. It gets too confusing. And it's a lot easier just keeping it, very simple. The second part, what we were doing back in our discussion was actually, as part of this thing, was to have like a trolley, actually have a bus service. We were looking at vehicles that could actually go up the Upper Park Road, so people that didn't want to drive could actually get there and then bus it, and that impact fee would pay for the bus service that we would have. And that was the second part of the discussion that we entertained back in the 90s. Like I say, only 2 people ever came to speak about it, and one person was from Paradise, and she didn't think it was a good idea having outsiders pay for use of the park. And the other person thought it was going to create too many people in the park because they would carpool and load the cars up with people. And the third idea was actually having a manned kiosk at the entrance by Wildwood where we could actually talk to people. We have a ranger type person talks to people. And we also wanted because we started banning glass in the park and alcohol. And so we wanted to be able to look at people's ice chests to make sure that doesn't happen. So it was a multi thing that we talked about it back then. And it kind of got shelved. And I'm glad it's coming up again, but it'll probably get shelved again. But I think we need the impact fees.
Thank you.
No more speaker cards.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to everyone who spoke. As we mentioned, it will be going, we'll wait for the survey and we'll find out those results and go from there. Okay, are there any more questions or comments from the commission on this report? Nope. Okay, moving on to 5.3, report on the Parks and Playground Tree Committee meeting held on January 22nd. We'll defer to, Chair Hernandez.
Thank you. I'm the chair of the Tree Committee, Alberto Hernandez. On January 22nd, 2018, we met to review the Chico Municipal Code, section 16.68, regarding the Heritage Trees Program, and a proposed Department of Forestry CAL FIRE grant application to seek funding to update the city's tree inventory. Richie, will you kind of give us an overview of what we talked about? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hernandez. Yeah, on the 22nd of January meeting, we discussed 2 topics. First topic was a continuation of the revisions to the Municipal Code 1668, which is the Heritage Tree Program. The second point was the grant funding opportunity that has recently been released by CAL FIRE, and that is a greenhouse gas reduction fund, and we're looking at obtaining grants for various administrative activities. So back to subject 1, consideration for the revision to Chico Municipal Code. I think we made pretty good headway at the Tree Committee meeting, and we're starting to develop a few ways to move the program forward. Basically, that program was developed in 2010, and there was an initial push to get applications for heritage trees. And since that time, there hasn't really been any applications. And we don't really know the full reason why, but we do strongly feel that probably the biggest barrier is the application fee. And back then it was $307. It has been reduced. It's currently $168. However, doing a comprehensive review of cities across the US that have similar voluntary programs, we've realized that there is nowhere else in the entire US that charges for a voluntary heritage tree program. Now, it may be difficult to fully get rid of the fee and enable applicants to apply for the program with no cost, but we would like to offer it at no cost to potential applicants. So the idea that we came up with was a possible sponsorship program. So if local tree companies, non-profits, civic groups, wood-using industries, if they wanted to pledge a certain amount of money, a dollar cost money, sum of money that would be the equivalent of a certain number of tree nominations that would be commensurate with the amount of work that we want to do to get the program running, then we could offer the program for free, but the city's still not losing the revenue that it would have achieved had it have charged those applicants. And I made some phone calls in the days since the committee meeting, and we kind of already have the money pledged, so that's all ready to go. A lot of interest, the tree companies, local wood-using industries. It's a great idea. So we've secured the money. So with that money, what would we do? Well, the second great idea that came out of our committee meeting was to utilize volunteers to do some of the preliminary work. Because currently, you can imagine if we did get 24 tree applications, it would take a lot of my time administratively to look through those applications. Time that I really don't have. You know, there are bigger priorities right now in the urban forestry program. But we do want to get this program revived. So Chico Tree Advocate said, hey, we'll do the initial groundwork. We'll go and scout the trees. We'll assess them for suitability. If I develop a scoring protocol for them to do that, then the next part of that idea is that they would whittle down the applicant pool to a more manageable size that then we would present to the tree committee for consideration for the final 5 or 6 trees that would be nominated to the program for that year. So I think this is going to be a great idea. I think it really will revive the program. Some of the other possible barriers is the current requirement to have a successfully nominated tree added to the deeds of the property, if it's a private tree. A lot of cities have that as a voluntary process, because right now you don't need to be in the heritage tree program to have something added to your property deeds. So if somebody did really want to have the tree noted on their deeds, sure, you know, we can arrange that. And a lot of cities do it free gratis. They'll arrange the paperwork. And we researched the fees, and it would cost $16. So it's a nominal amount. So we can have an a la carte menu, if you like, of how far residents want to take the actual deed procurement side of things. If they wanted to do that, we can arrange that for them. One of the other costs was the plaque that we currently have. Right now, a heritage tree has a plaque mounted on a plinth. We don't really need, we can just stick a sign on there. Just a tree, botanical label that you see when you go to arboretums. They're inexpensive. The costings I got was $18. So that would reduce the cost drastically. So I think we can get the cost down looking at all the hard costs, and that was one of the things that the committee asked me to come back and research for the next meeting. And we kind of already have the answer. We think the hard costs, everything included, you know, the capital plus my administrative time, is panning out at about $150 per tree. So we're kind of, I approach sponsors and ask them for units of, would you pledge $150? And the first person I asked said, I'll pledge $750. I'm like, I kind of want to ask a few people, so I might have to knock you back and ask other people. So try and get a lot of companies involved. So I was very encouraged by the meeting. I think we have a way forward. I do want to back up all of that with some data. So one of the plans is to release a survey monkey and release it to the general population of Chico. And we'll ask the basic questions, you know, do you feel that the fee is cost prohibitive? You know, what do you think about the requirement to have it on your deeds? You know, did you even know we had a heritage tree program, for example? That would be the first question. So I'm planning to launch that Survey Monkey. I've agreed with Linda. She's got her Survey Monkey almost ready to hatch, so I'm going to let that run its course. We don't want to send out multiple Survey Monkeys and people get brain freeze with Survey Monkeys, so we'll let that run its course, and then I'll launch mine perhaps the month after hers is closed, give people a break, a couple of weeks, and then launch mine. And then we'll use that data to back up what we think is going on. But we really want to refer to the public and find out for sure. So I'm very encouraged that I feel very positive that we can get a revived heritage tree program. We'll have applicants coming forward. We'll have a new way to celebrate all the giant heritage trees that we have. We've got the expertise in-house to do all the mapping, and even volunteers are volunteering to photograph the trees. And so we'll have a really great model that I think will actually end up being modelled by other cities, because from what I've read, there's some great examples. I think we can copy them and go a step further. So thank you, committee members.
Thank you. Great news. Great news to hear about the sponsors.
Yeah.
Gotta love that.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Okay, are there any feedback from commissioners or questions? Okay. Are there any speaker cards?
So I do have, so the part 2 of the meeting was to discuss the grant funding. So,
Oh, I'm sorry, I cut you off. I did that.
yeah, no,
You're done.
I thought we'd take questions halfway through if there was any on that subject, and I guess there are none.
Gotcha. Okay.
So just briefly, for information only, the CAL FIRE did release a grant in December, the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. There's $20 million in the pot for California. The minimum amount is $150,000. The maximum is $1.5 million. I would like to pursue a grant for a brand new tree inventory and also a urban forest management plan. Currently we do have an inventory, but when we use it daily we find that there's errors. All the data is 10 years old, so it's out of date. It does have good use, but it would be it's really critical to have a modern, up-to-date inventory. All the management decisions start with the question, you know, what do we have? And right now, we don't really know what we have in terms of the tree resource. Because in that 10 years, we've had new developments being built, we've had annexations, and there's still data that wasn't fully processed even 10 years ago. I mean, for example, only today we found trees that we thought we own, and they're probably private trees, but our data is wrong. So we need to make those corrections. You know, currently our inventory estimates we have 28,000 trees. I think we have way more than that. So we need to know what they are and where they are and what work needs doing. So this CAL FIRE grant would go a long way to get in there. The second part of it, for a new urban forest management plan, as some of you may know, we did get a draft management plan, or got its draft stage, I think about 5 years ago. That stalled, and my predecessor retired, and it was never adopted by council. So now it's already out of date. When I read it, I don't think it was there wasn't enough referral to the people of Chico to just ask them, what do you want in a management plan? How do you want to see your urban forest managed? I think the document was produced in-house. I'm looking to you were there at the time. If you want to speak.
Yeah, it was pretty, yeah, I believe it was done in-house, and I think it really is best categorized as an initial settings. It pretty much just talked about what we had and where we are. Didn't really talk too much on where we want to be.
So the deadline for the, thank you, Linda. The deadline for the grant is February 28. If we don't apply, we will be 100% certain we will not get any money. So we have to apply. I'm currently working on the grant proposal in partnership with GIC, which is the Geographical Information Centre, the business wing of Chico State. And we're currently fielding non-profits and seeing who wants to get involved. Because the third part of the grant is that there has to be a tree planting component to all grant applications. And currently Chico has 3,500 vacant tree planting spots. So we've got the spots to plant. If CAL FIRE will give us the money, we can plant the trees. So that's an exciting part, because that's where the community engagement will really get ramped up, and we'll really get a lot of people rolling up their sleeves and planting trees. In fact, I want to speak to Shane, because I think the workforce development, there's definitely a role for them to get involved, not just in Bidwell Park, but actually in the streets of Chico as well. So watch this space. We'll hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have a good idea. Well, the deadline is February 28th. What I'm told by CAL FIRE is about 6 weeks after that, we'll know if they're going to invite us to then submit a full proposal. So February 28th is like an initial scoping proposal, and then they weed those out. So we'll move forward and see what money we get. So I can take any questions on that if you have any.
More just a comment. I'm just really excited about this grant, and all for the climate action plan and taking an area of our city, Chapman, Barber, and South Chico, that is kind of disenfranchised as far as their air quality to other parts of the city, and putting in 310, almost 400 trees possibly that are on the spots where a tree could be planted.
Yes.
In those areas, in those neighborhoods. And when you think about those areas, there's a lot of people there that maybe don't necessarily have the air conditioning, maybe don't, have some of those things. And in speaking, when Richie came and spoke at the Sustainability Task Force meeting, the chair there, mentioned that how neighbors can help in that heat stress time. So not only are we going to develop the canopy there to help climate change, cool the temperature for people there, but actually getting them out and meeting their neighbors while planting can create a safe factor there of, now they go out and sit on the tree, are you okay? Are you feeling hot today? It just hits so many things, the mitigation, or the audit, the plan, the planting, the canopy, and all for making a better Chico. I'm really excited about this.
Aaron, you reminded me, one thing I didn't mention, and to your point, we will be focusing on the what's classed as the disadvantaged part of Chico, which is I don't think the map is in the packet, but it's around Chapman and that area, and you can go online and you can see the maps. It's all being done by census tract, and there's 24 different parameters that they use to by census tract to grade the level of, what would be the word, how disadvantaged it is. And there's also the low income areas of Chico that we'll be concentrating on as well, because CAL FIRE really wants to see focus on areas that need it most. And it's just one of those things that these things are usually in areas with low income and disadvantaged communities. They generally need more trees. So I'm happy to focus my efforts there and get the canopy to where it should be.
Great, thank you very much.
Question, Richie, because we have some, you planted your acorns, and we got some germination now, and we maybe perceive the nursery, some of those plantings coming for.
Yes, and I have that in my monthly report. I think I have a few which we can touch on later.
Great. I want to see
Yeah,
it. Maybe we
yeah.
get a live camera,
Right.
webcam, and we could just watch those germinate. Great.
Thank you. Okay. So if there's no cards on that, speaker cards, we will move to business from the floor. Members of the public may address the commission at this time on any matter not already listed on the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. The commission cannot take any action at this meeting on requests made under this section of the agenda. Do we have any business from the floor? We do. Woody, if you'd please come to the podium.
Thanks very much. This has kind of been on my mind for a while. As you know, Friends of Bidwell Park has a city community grant to pick up trash, and we've contracted with the Work Training Center this time. But in the process of doing that, when they sweep pick up trash from 1 mile, or Lost Park up to 1 Mile Dam and back, there's some places that because I follow them, I monitor, well, I don't follow them, I monitor their work. And so I'm really into picking up trash. And I don't oftentimes have a place to put it. And I know in Annie's Glen, those marvelous barrels went missing. One of them went missing, and it hasn't been replaced. And I brought this up before, and I was told that it was kind of on the to-do list. But that also brought to mind that there's other places throughout Lower Park, and perhaps Upper Park, where I don't know how efficient they are, but trash barrels or some other semblance of a place that is picked up either once or twice a week by, I believe it's Waste Management, could be installed. And if there was an inventory of those, Linda, I would like to see what is needed, because I think Friends of Bidwell Park, and I'm just speaking without talking to the board, I'll bring it up to the board on Wednesday, but they would fund something like that. They would fund, at least a barrel in Annie's Glen. I need one bad there. And some places have too many barrels, quite frankly, but that's okay, leave them there. But other places have a dearth. And if you come up with a better design, I remember there was some consideration that it was kind of not OSHA correct or something. I don't know. It's pretty funky, But we need more trash barrels, and I think you could get a nonprofit or two to help you pay for them, and maybe the installation of 1 or 2.
Thank you very much. Any other business from the floor? Okay, then we will move on to item 7, reports. Items provided for the commission's information discussion. No action can be taken on any of the items unless the commission agrees to include them on a subsequent posted agenda. Item 7.1, Parks Division Report. Linda Herman, Park and Natural Resource Manager. Once again, you've been the star of the show tonight.
I don't know about a star, but again, this is just an information item only, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Nope. Okay, thank you. Richie, Street and Tree Division Report.
Thank you, Commissioner Redmond. So yeah, I do spot a typo at the very first sentence. City Tree Division received 36 calls in December. No, hash. Forgot to put the number in. I apologize. So yeah, I'd just like to go over the update section. So yeah, the number of calls has dropped off, as you would expect in December. The winter months are usually quiet and things ramp up as we move into summer. And with that said, we're very enthused that we'll have the makings of a full tree crew by then. Well, that's the plan. And we can really start delivering a higher level of customer service and tackling the large backlog of service requests. So M&S Wesley are our contracted tree service provider. They're ramped up to full speed now, and they're producing all kinds of work. Unfortunately, most of it is removal of dead trees, so it is a necessary requirement. We don't like to see trees being removed, but these are the worst of the worst, so we're all okay seeing those trees taken down in their current condition. To Commissioner Haar's point, yes, Chico Tree Advocates have reported that all their valley oak acorns, and if you look at the back of the back 3 photographs, that's their little tree nursery, and they're having great success. All the acorns are germinating, so we anticipate certainly by the end of this year we will have another crop of seedlings to do another volunteer tree planting with. So remember the previous volunteer program was with 29 trees, so now we're stepping it up a level, so we've got, I think we'll comfortably have at least 100 acorns, so we should get a great program going. And this will happen with or without the grant that I mentioned earlier. We'll definitely organise something for these trees, so I'm very excited about that. We also dabbled with a firewood auction, which was successful, so we hope to keep that as we get the supply of firewood coming off our tree removals, and it just keeps it out of landfill, which is a good environmental story. We're not making vast amounts of money from that revenue, but it will go into the tree fund, I think. We're yet to see the money, actually, but that will go into the in lieu fund, and we'll use it to plant trees. So that's a good news story. I'm happy to report.
Did you think of that? I mean, how did that come up? Was it before?
I think it was Eric's. I think you can take the kudos for that one, Eric. Yeah.
It was Richie's idea. It was a team effort.
Okay. Fantastic. I mean, that's a great idea. Help defray the cost. I love it.
That's all I have.
Okay. Anything else, or are we're good? Okay. Well, thank you very much. And so the last one, item 7.3, the Park and Natural Resource Manager report.
The only thing that I thought I might want to mention is that the report from the ad hoc committee on the CARD MOU and city CARD MOU revisions is tentatively scheduled to come to the council on the 20th of February. So I'll make sure that you guys get a copy of the agenda. It's just a report.
The council or the commission?
The council.
The council.
Council.
Okay.
So it's just, all it's doing is reporting what the ad hoc committee recommended. It's just getting council direction from that point forward whether they want us to proceed in a certain way.
So we're not going to be able to see it?
You'll see it, but do you want it to come to you? It's a council committee, so that's why, yeah. So I'm just letting you know that it's going, all it is reporting on the ad hoc committee's recommendations. It's just getting direction on those recommendations, and then it'll come back to the council, and they may punt it to you back too, but that's just reporting on, given the direction that we were given to do that. So
is there any way we can, can we at least have access to read it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would give you, like I said, once it's out, the agenda's out, I would make sure that you would get copies of that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Great. Any further questions? Okay, on that note, we will adjourn for the evening. Thank you all very much for coming. Have a good night.
Discuss with my wife now. We have 3 offers on our house right now.